Becoming a fashion designer in real life is not what most people think it is. Because what you see on Project Runway and what you see on TV is not how the industry really works. So if you want a career in fashion, this video will give you the inside scoop of what it's really like from 10 fashion industry professionals. Oh, and quick secret, if you want the fully unedited version of all the advice these designers had to share, I turned it into a podcast episode. You can check that out right now. What I wish I knew about becoming a fashion designer before I became a fashion designer. Now, quick heads up, this isn't just any group of random fashion professionals. These are fashion industry experts. Most of them have between 10 and 20 years of professional experience. They've worked at brands like Lululemon, Under Armour, TopShop, Mavi Jeans, and Roxy. And their work has been featured in magazines like InStyle, Vogue, and Sports Illustrated. If I were you, I'd take their advice very seriously. I'm Heidi, founder of SuccessfulFashionDesigner.com, and I teach fashion professionals like you the real-world skills that you need to get ahead in the industry. It's all the stuff you don't learn in fashion school. A lot of people don't talk about this, so I like to call it Fashion Industry Secrets Revealed. So let's dive in. Industry advice from real working professionals on becoming a fashion designer.
Definitely more of the business side. Anything from negotiating costs to international shipping, and just the whole production process, timelines, basically the whole logistical side. I wish there was a lot more coverage in school regarding that. I remember we had one class that kind of touched on all of that. Like, what's the definition of FOB and a landed cost, but it just skimmed the surface. Illustrator is obviously, because as a designer, I mean, you're just on Illustrator all day long these days. So, but I do wish I knew more about the business side of things. So hopefully these schools will start to change their curriculums in the future. And Heidi, you're doing an awesome thing. Bye, guys.
This career is creative, of course, but you need to know how to represent that idea that you have in your mind into a real product. So you need to develop your knowledge on technical tools such as Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and also know about sewing techniques and pattern making. This is crucial for you. So I hope that's helpful. Bye!
Learning more about the product development process and technical processes would have been really advantageous during my studies, which was more focused on the art, design, and aesthetic side of things. It would be great to know more about the different jobs available. Being a technical person, again, more design roles were focused on, where pattern cutting and garment tech skills weren't necessarily focused on as strongly. So I think before going into the industry, I would have liked to have more skills and experience built up in those areas rather than the aesthetic design side.
Talent isn't enough. It's really important for you to get out there, network, build and develop relationships. Also, that the learning doesn't end at graduation. You have to continuously strive to build upon your skills and learn new ones. And lastly, it's super important to keep up to date on what's going on in the industry, from business to technology to fashion. The fashion industry is continuously evolving, and it's really, really important that you know what's going on. Thank you for listening. Bye.
How much that you would be working. And I know you have no context of what to expect or anything like that, but I think for me, it would have helped me out to know that the normal for the fashion industry is just a ton of hours, and that you have to pace yourself because you will get burnt out so fast. And then the second thing, if I can add two things, it's just that it's a really hard industry. I think going into fashion, especially coming out of school, you're doing all those creative projects in school, you're creating your garments, you're creating your line, and it's really fun. And so I think knowing that once you get in a corporate workplace, it's not the same amount of fun, meaning like you're not just drawing and creating all day. You have a lot of meetings that you are in. You have a lot of work that just isn't creating. meaning like sketching and playing with fabrics. It's a lot of tactical business that you are working on. And in some ways, I wish I would have gotten a business minor or maybe even a merchandising minor. I think that could have been really helpful. So those are the things that I wish I would have known before getting into the industry. Thanks, Heidi.
How much time do I actually spend designing? I would say about 35-40% of my time I spend designing. The rest of it is about organizing and problem solving and sourcing. So this could be fabric or trim sourcing. It's about doing tech packs, and depending on the complexity of the garment, you might even spend half a morning just doing one tech pack. It's about liaising with your factories and your fabric suppliers to ensure that there are not any queries, or if there are any problems that need solving, it needs to be dealt with. It is not as glamorous as it looks, and it's a hard work, but if you love it, it's totally worth it. Bye!
One thing I really wish I knew was how important the relationships with factories would be. It's really hard to find a factory that's consistent, that's, always provides great quality, and the communication is really good. And that's always good to keep in touch with those factories. It's such a small business, whether, you're in high fashion or activewear like I am, you're going to meet those people again, and it's going to be really key to have those factories on your roster. Bye!
I wish I had been encouraged to have a more thought out career plan before I started working. I wish I had been encouraged to choose a career path in fashion design, either, for example, aspire to be a luxury brand creative director, or maybe a mass market designer, or a freelance designer. It doesn't matter what, but I wish that I knew more about these sort of path options and what would have been the best choices in my career to make to reach a desired position. I also wish I knew how not creative jobs in fashion design really are, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to shadow fashion designers, ideally in high school before I went to fashion school, to see what fashion designers really do on a day-to-day basis. This would have been really useful. I also wish that I had a career mentor. I didn't really know mentors were a thing back when I was in school and when I first graduated. It would have been useful to have someone that could have helped me navigate these sort of uncertainties and the frustrations of a fashion design career.
My advice to you is, while you're still in school, utilize those networks and contacts through your university or whatever program you're in to get internships, whether they're paid or unpaid. The more experience you get, the more you can put down on your resume, the more exposure you have, the better.
How invaluable it would be to stay up on new technologies. I have been very fortunate in my career that some of the companies that I have worked for have had the financial backing to kind of work with some of the newer programs such as Kaleido or Browseware, the new 3D software. It's been really interesting to me that throughout my career there's always been times where we've kind of gone from one program to another, and it's been really invaluable to me to be able to pick up on those new programs very quickly. So the one thing I would advise anyone is to never stop learning, always be willing to try new things, and you don't have to be an expert at anything right away, but certainly be willing to try it and learn it and just jump right in.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Fashion Industry Secrets Revealed, and thank you to the 10 experts for giving all of your amazing advice. You can find links to connect with all of them in the video description below. And reminder, for the full unedited version of the advice all of these fashion professionals had to share, check out the podcast episode. Click the link right there. In the meantime, if you like this video, make sure to hit subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And for more free tips, tutorials, and advice on getting ahead in the cutthroat fashion industry, make sure to sign up for my email list at successfulfashiondesigner.com. I share tons of stuff you don't see here on YouTube. I'd also love to hear from you. Are you surprised that most of the jobs in fashion aren't as creative as you might have thought they would be? Let me know by leaving a comment below. Oh my god, these lights are so hot. And for more free tips, tutorials, and advice about getting ahead in the Cutthroat. I'm a nerd. Ugh, got hair on my nose. It would help if I plug the microphone in.